So let's quickly talk about this concept of a numeraire. So a budget line, I don't know why that D is crazy, but a budget line with two goods, so W bar is usually my width, with two goods is defined by two prices and one income. Right, we have M as our income and we have two prices. P1 and P2 are the two prices. So one of these three things is redundant if we want to just express things in relative terms. One of these is redundant if we express things in relative terms. So for instance, we have P1 x1 plus P2 x2 equals M. We can express this, I don't know why I need to underline there, can't be expressed as P1 over P2 times x1 plus x2 equals M over P2. So if we make x2 the numeraire good, everything is going to be relative to the price of x2. So here, so what I kind of did here, really I just divided both sides of the equation by P2. So here basically we have defined P2 as 1 and the price of good 1 and income are now relative to the price of good 2. So we could do the same for, we could use good 1 as the numeraire and kind of define P1 as 1. We can divide both sides of this equation by P1 and we'll get slightly different, right? We get x1 plus P2 over P1 times x2 plus, equals M over P1 if we chose good 1 as the numeraire. Or we could pick the budget as the numeraire. It just depends on what we want to use as what we want to express things in relative terms of. Here we're just using good 2. So this might not seem to make much sense. Why would we do this? Let's look at a quick example and hopefully that kind of clears it up. But at certain times in a semester, we will be thinking of one of the goods as a numeraire. It just means things are expressed relatively rather than in terms of absolute, in some absolute sense. So for example, let's say that P1 is $2, P2 is $3, and our income is $12. Which means our budget line is 2 times x1 plus 3 times x2 equals 12, right? Because all we're basically doing is plugging in 2 for P1 in our regular budget line and 3 for P2. And then our disposable income is 12. So we could make good 1 the numeraire good. Which just means we're going to express everything else. Everything's going to be relative to the price of good 1. So what does that mean? So that means if we transform this, remember now we're just dividing everything in this equation by 2. We're kind of defining as thinking about P1 equals 1 and now expressing everything in relative terms of that 1. And so now we'd get x1 equals, x1 plus 3 over 2x2 equals 6. We're just following the same steps as we do before. So here, 3 over 2 is the price of good 2 relative to the price of good 1. Six is the consumer's income, is a disposable income of the individual relative to the price of good 1. Good or commodity 1. So it just helps us if we want to, express things in relative terms. Okay, so that's gonna come up once in a while as we kind of go through this semester, so I just didn't want it to take you off guard or express things in relative terms. And so now let's think about the effects of a certain kind of policies on the budget constraint. So we can think about taxes, subsidies, and rationing are the 3 things we're going to look at. A couple different types of taxes, a couple different types of subsidies, and then what happens when there's rationing. So that's what's next.